In China, a fire erupts in a building in Shanxi province, claiming dozens of lives.
Authorities say at least 51 victims were rushed to the hospital. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I am Ricky Mathay.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. secures multiple foreign investments in the United States. Department of Justice insists that the Philippines is not obliged to help ICC in its drug war probe. Presidents Joe Biden and Xi Jinping hold their first in-person talks in over a year. Thai cave experts are called in to help rescue the trapped tunnel workers in India. And the final season of Netflix's royal drama opens in 1997, highlighting a speed bump in the monarchy. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. presided over the signing of 5 significant agreements between private sectors from the Philippines and the U.S. during the sidelines of the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders meeting in San Francisco, California. Vin Pascua tells us more.
One notable agreement involves a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Science and Technology and Atmo Incorporated. This collaboration aims to develop a high-resolution weather forecasting for the Philippines utilizing AI technology. Lloyd Laboratories is set to invest up to $20 million in establishing and operating the first U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved manufacturing facility in the Philippines. This move is anticipated to enhance the country's standing as a key player in the global pharmaceutical industry. Additionally, an agreement between Orbitz and Astranis was inked for the deployment of the first 2 internet satellites dedicated to the Philippines. This agreement is poised to attract a $400 million investment over the next 8 years through the micro-geo satellites. Meanwhile, President Marcos attended a meeting with technology companies and investors, which he invited as partners in the technological revolution.
Currently, the Philippines is embracing this future of AI with the crafting of the National AI Strategy that seeks to augment the existing skill set of Filipino talents with AI. This strategy also aims to position the Philippines as a center of excellence in artificial intelligence.
President Marcos Jr. also engaged in discussions with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris on the sidelines of the summit. The 2 leaders delved into ongoing economic and defense cooperation between the Philippines and the United States. Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United States reaffirmed its strong alliance with the Philippines as President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. Alagao reports.
The United States will remain an ally of the Philippines. This comes after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris met for the 5th time since 2022 on the sidelines of the APEC or Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders meeting in San Francisco, California. Marcos and Harris discussed clean energy, technology, and the issue in the West Philippine Sea. Harris also announced that the 2 countries have a new partnership with the Philippines to grow and diversify the semiconductor ecosystem under the International Technology Security and Innovation Fund. The 2 leaders reiterated their shared commitment to upholding international rules and norms in the South China Sea. Harris also emphasized the importance of respecting human and labor rights and even the safety of trade union leaders. For Mata ng Agila International, El Aguilar, APEC meeting, San Francisco, California. Trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. gave his remarks in the Philippine economic briefing at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel.
Economic transformation is needed and not recovery. This is what President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said in response to the question of how digital connectivity and infrastructure can help the Philippines and the lives of the Filipino people once investors enter the country. During the Philippine economic briefing at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in San Francisco, Marcos explained that if everyone had access to the internet in the country and the entire region, the local government would move faster and more efficiently. The connectivity would also help schools speed up transactions, not only personally or with the banks, but also in everyday life. The president added that with the improvement of the country's transportation system, the productivity of every Filipino will increase.
The opening of areas, for example, when we talk about infrastructure, let me start with digital infrastructure. Just for a place, a school, for example, or a village, to suddenly today, as opposed to yesterday, have connectivity and are able to go on the internet, the immediate improvement in all areas, in terms of the efficiency of the local government, in terms of the currency of the lessons that are being taught to children in school, in terms of the convenience of financial transactions being done over the internet immediately increases the productivity of a person. And that is really what we are going for, because when we look to successful economies that have had to pick themselves up after war, for example, and the COVID was a kind of a war, so we have to pick ourselves up from that. It is productivity. It's an increase in productivity, and that is what we are trying to. That's what we are trying to achieve. Infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, a better, a more efficient transport system, a cheaper transport system. All of this will increase the productivity of every single Filipino worker.
Marcos said that if we are talking about infrastructure, we can no longer think of it as just physical, but also digital infrastructure, which is why partnership and collaboration between the government and private sectors is important.
Well, I think we are extremely encouraged by the Philippines' current orientation towards digitalization, towards satellite communications, and towards connecting all Filipinos across the archipelago. We think that this is, since President Marcos has taken over, there's been a significant increase in interest in this area, which we find very encouraging, because we think that the participation of all Filipinos in the Filipino economy is important. I think the President made that very clear, and he made some very telling remarks with regard to how, when citizens are able to participate in the internet, they are able to increase value in their lives and participate by joining the global economy.
In plain and simple words, Marcos explained the impact on the Philippines if its aspirations for economic transformation push through, and that is the need for connectivity and digitalization to change the quality of life of every Filipino. For Mata ng Agila, Ellen Aguilar, Apex Summit, San Francisco, California. Trusted, connected, on point.
In other news, the Supreme Court has announced that the 2023 Philippine Bar Examination results will be available on December 5. 2023 Bar Exams Chairperson and Justice Ramon Paul Hernando said that LED walls will be displayed at the Supreme Court's courtyard to show the list of successful examinees. The courtyard will be publicly open from 12 noon until 6 in the afternoon or evening for those wanting to witness the bar exam announcement as well as to see the results. The bar exam results will also be posted on the Supreme Court's official social media pages. A total of 10,380 examinees took the national licensure examination, which was held in 14 local testing centers on September 17, 29, and 24.
Around 100,000 jeepney drivers and operators are anticipated to participate in a 3-day transportation strike organized by the Pagkakaisa ng mga Samahan ng Tsuper at Operator Nationwide or PISTON. Scheduled from the 20th to the 22nd of November, the nationwide strike aims to oppose the 31st December deadline set for the franchise consolidation under the government's Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. Modi Floranda, the national president of PISTON, emphasizes that if the government genuinely intends to enhance the transport sector, the focus should be on its rehabilitation rather than the current implementation approach of the program. While PISTON has extended its invitations to other transport groups to join the protest, responses from these groups are still pending. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board asserts that around 50% of jeepney operators already expressed support for the modernization program and does not anticipate a complete paralysis of public transport during the strike. Philippines has called on China to remove all of its illegal structures in the West Philippine Sea. This is the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA's, response to Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin regarding the recent resupply mission of the Philippines to BRP Sierra Madre on November 10. In a statement released by DFA spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza, she said, and I quote, "China promised that it was only a fisherman's shelter and would remain as such. The reef is now a militarized artificial island. We call on China to remove all these illegal structures, cease reclamations in the South China Sea, and be accountable for the damages caused by these illegal activities." Daza explained that China has turned many reefs in the country into militarized artificial islands. She also urged China to halt its reclamation activities in the South China Sea, as well as be held liable for the damages it brought. The Chinese embassy in the Philippines has yet to give its comments on DFA's statements.
Coming up, the IDF conducts a second night raid in the Al-Shifa hospital. The United Kingdom Supreme deems Britain's asylum plan unlawful. And Israel rejects the UN resolution calling for a humanitarian pause. Stay tuned for more stories from around the globe when we return.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart. We take great pride in how much we have grown and evolved over the years. And with growth comes transformation, intentional and focused in every way. Marking a new chapter, we have injected fresh energy into our brand with a vibrancy that equals our vision for today and tomorrow. We unify everything we stand for and our dedication to thinking forward and flourishing in how we empower both people and the planet. In a synergy of symbols, we demonstrate our commitment to providing reliable and sustainable energy, the passion to drive us to serve, the clarity of our purpose, and the harmony and growth we envision for the Filipino. Under this re-energized brand, we express our strength in our roots, our diversity, and sustainability. San Miguel Global Power, giving you the power to celebrate life.
to Mata ng Agila International. The Department of Justice, or DOJ, defended that the Philippines is no longer obliged to help the International Criminal Court, or ICC, on its investigation into the war on drugs of the Duterte administration. This includes green-lighting the entry of ICC investigators in the country. Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla explained that the 2021 Supreme Court ruling regarding the Philippines' violation of the Rome Statute to the ICC cannot be used as a basis to allow ICC investigators to enter the country. Retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio, however, insisted that the country remains responsible to help the ICC on its probe.
We have the obligation, the Philippines has the obligation to comply, to cooperate with the ICC for crimes committed before we withdrew. And these are crimes alleged to have been committed before we withdrew. So we have the obligation to cooperate. Sinabi mismo ng Supreme Court yan. So I will just cite the Supreme Court decision.
Remulla remains firm that any complaints on the alleged crime should be brought to the DOJ and not to the ICC. He added that the country's justice system is working and there is no need for the ICC to interfere.
Pag ito po ay kailangang ipinilit, ay meron tayong problema sapagkat dapat nakikipag-usap sila sa kinauukulan. Ang kinauukulan po dyan, Department of Justice.
Myanmar's military rulers have issued a directive instructing all government staff and individuals with military experience to be ready for emergency service following reports of intense attacks by insurgents in various locations. A parallel government aligned with pro-democracy politicians and insurgent factions has initiated a Road to Naypyidaw campaign with the objective of gaining control over the capital. According to junta spokesperson Zhao Mintun, the military is contending with substantial attacks from armed rebel soldiers in Shan State in the northeast, Kaya State in the east, and Rakhine State in the west. The situation has led to the evacuation of certain military positions, and insurgents are reportedly utilizing drones to drop numerous bombs on military posts. The political landscape in Myanmar has been tumultuous since the 2021 coup, which saw the military oust a government led by Aung San Suu Kyi, thereby ending a decade of tentative democratic reform.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol condemns the alleged illegal arms deal between North Korea and Russia. He says there are concerns that North Korea might miscalculate and make a move against South Korea while the world is preoccupied with the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. Yoon plans to discuss the security implications of the alliance of Pyongyang and Moscow in this week's Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC summit. North Korea has reportedly test-launched a total of 87 ballistic missiles since Yoon's inauguration. Despite this, many foreign analysts assess North Korea still doesn't possess functioning nuclear-tipped missiles. But they believe that Russian support could help North Korea resolve its technological hurdles and boost powerful weapons.
In San Francisco, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister joins the APEC Leaders Forum. Echo Ortalesa Quinola reports.
Established in 1989, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC Summit, is the regional economic forum to leverage the growing interdependence of the Asia-Pacific region. Under the theme, Creating a Resilient and Sustainable Future for All, APEC leaders will address economic-related issues, sustainability, digitalization, women's economic empowerment, trade facilitator, energy security, and health. Prime Minister James Marape of Papua New Guinea believes that APEC is the biggest bloc that Papua New Guinea belongs to. The links, opportunities, and connections will provide fortune to Papua New Guinea through developing strong relationships and investments.
From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
U.S. President Joe Biden and China's Xi Jinping have held their first face-to-face meeting in more than a year. Biden says the two made real progress in mending fences between the two superpowers. Thomas I. Likeness has that story.
Two met During the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco, Biden says he and Xi have agreed to keep the lines of communication open.
He and I agreed that each one of us could pick up the phone, call directly, and would be heard immediately.
During the 4-hour meeting, the two agreed to restore military-to-military communications in a bid to ease soaring tensions. But they remain far apart on the issue of Taiwan. The Chinese president told Biden to stop arming the island, adding that reunification is unstoppable. Beijing claims sovereignty over Taiwan and has not ruled out seizing it by force. On other issues, China has agreed to tackle the production of ingredients for the drug fentanyl, responsible for a deadly epidemic of opioid deaths. The two countries also agreed to hold talks on artificial intelligence. Biden says they have to ensure that competition between the two nations does not veer into conflict. For his part, Xi says planet Earth is big enough for the two countries to succeed. Later at a news conference, Biden said he still thinks Xi is a dictator, a remark he made earlier this year that sparked fury from Beijing.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is a guy who runs a country that is a communist country that is based on a form of government totally different than ours.
Outside the meeting venue, protesters burned a Chinese flag. Demonstrators are protesting Xi's visit, saying the world should know about the atrocities he's committed. Waving banners and chanting slogans, they say China is not to be trusted. At the entrance to the estate, supporters of Xi gathered to show their support for the Chinese leader. Following Wednesday's meeting, it appears the frosty relations between the U.S. and China have begun to thaw. Now, this is how the meeting ended. The leaders of the two superpowers went for a walk in the garden of the historic estate where they met. And even better, the two have agreed to continue talks in the future. Thomas I. Likeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Turkey was the real sponsor of terrorism. He also condemned Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's comment that Israel was a terrorist state and asserted Erdogan had no right to lecture Israel. Netanyahu likewise accused Turkey of supporting the Hamas group, pointing out that Erdogan bombed Turkish villages within Ankara.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon says American forces deployed in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 55 times over the past month. The attacks have reportedly caused minor injuries to dozens of U.S. troops. Ken Cruz tells us more.
Putting the number of injured American personnel at close to 60, Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh says that since October 17 through today, there have been 55 attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and in Syria.
We are tracking that there have been 55 attacks on U.S. forces. There have been 27 attacks against U.S. forces in Iraq and 28 attacks in Syria. We are also tracking 59 U.S. personnel who have received injuries in the TBI or non-serious categories since these attacks began. Approximately 27 personnel have been evaluated for TBI and 32 for other non-serious injuries. As of today, all 59 have returned to duty.
The surge in attacks on U.S. troops is linked to the war between Israel and Hamas. The war began when the Palestinian militant group carried out a shock cross-border attack from Gaza on October 7, reportedly killing 1,200 people. Following the attack, U.S. rushed military aid to Israel. Israel has carried out a relentless air, land, and naval assault on Hamas-controlled Gaza. Gaza's health ministry says that Israel's attacks have so far killed more than 11,300 people. Those deaths have sparked widespread anger in the Middle East. They have provided an impetus for attacks on American troops by forces opposed to their presence in the region. There are roughly 2,500 American troops in Iraq. Some 900 are in Syria. Their deployment is part of efforts to prevent a resurgence of the Islamic State group. Ken Cruz from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
According to Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the Israeli Defense Force has found Hamas weapons and combat gear in Al-Shifa Hospital in the Gaza Strip during a night raid on the compound.
מצאנו בבית החולים אמצעי לחימה, חומרי מודיעין, טכנולוגיות צבאיות וציוד צבאי. בנוסף, הותרה מפקדה מבצעית, ובה אמצעי קשר וטכנולוגיות מבצעיות השייכות לחמאס. הטכנולוגיות והחומרים הועברו למיצוי ובדיקה של גורמי המודיעין.
The Army simultaneously released a video showing some of the materials recovered from an undisclosed part of the building within the large hospital complex, including automatic weapons, grenades, ammunition, and flak jackets.
It is definitely an MRI machine, and if you follow me behind the MRI machine, I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant, and if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. There is an AK-47, there are cartridges, ammo, there are grenades in here, of course uniform, and all of this was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine. Up here.
Hamas, which has been battling the idea for over a month, has dismissed the video, calling it lies and cheap propaganda. The military has focused its operations on hospitals across northern Gaza after long accusing Hamas of setting up major command and control centers beneath medical facilities in an effort to avoid airstrikes, a statement that the White House has also supported in conjunction to the raids.
We do have information that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad uses some hospitals in the Gaza Strip, including the Al-Shifa Hospital, as a way to conceal and support their military operations and hold hostages. They have tunnels underneath these hospitals. And so Hamas and PIJ members operate a command and control node from Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. They have weapons stored there and are prepared to respond to an Israeli military operation against the facility.
Israeli troops forced their way into Al-Shifa overnight and have spent the day scouring specific locations within Gaza's largest hospital. Israeli soldiers entered the Rantisi Pediatric Hospital, releasing a video showing what it said were weapons stored by Hamas in the building's basement.
בית החולים שיפה, בית החולים רנטיסי, כולם שימשו את מחבלי החמאס לטרור, יחד איתם עוד בתי חולים נוספים. הממצאים האלה בבית החולים שיפה, כמו ברנטיסי, מוכיחים באופן חד משמעי שנעשה שימוש צבאי בבית החולים לטובת טרור, בניגוד מוחלט לדין הבינלאומי.
Israeli officials have previously suggested that some of the 240 captives seized by Hamas militants in Israel might be located underneath Gazan hospitals. However, he said that the raid at Al-Shifa was not focused on hostages.
אנחנו נכנסנו למבצע בשיפה בתזמון שהיה נכון עבורנו. מבצעית, מודיעינית לביטחון כוחותינו וגם אל מול הפעולה שאנחנו עשינו אל מול בית החולים תוך כדי פינוי שלא מעט אנשים, היו הרבה יותר אנשים מהאנשים שנמצאים עכשיו בבית החולים, וזה המסכן גם מבצעית את כוחותינו וגם מסכן מבצעית את האזרחים וגם נותן לחמאס את אותו הישג שהוא רצה להשיג. מה ההישג שחמאס רצה להשיג? הוא רצה להשיג תמונות של צה"ל פוגע באזרחים, בחולים, בבית חולים.
In other news, UK's highest court has ruled that the government's Rwanda asylum policy is unlawful. The Supreme Court upheld the Court of Appeal ruling, which said asylum policy leaves people sent to Rwanda open to human rights breaches. It means the policy cannot be enforced nor implemented in its current form.
The legal test which has to be applied in this case is whether there are substantial grounds for believing that asylum seekers sent to Rwanda would be at real risk of refoulement. In the light of the evidence which I have summarized, the Court of Appeal concluded that there were such grounds. We are unanimously of the view that they were entitled to reach that conclusion. Indeed, having been taken through the evidence ourselves, we agree with their conclusion.
The asylum policy has been subjected to legal challenges since it was first announced in the year 2022. The said treaty seeks to fly refugees to Rwanda and ban them from returning to the United Kingdom. But Rwandan government spokesperson says Rwanda disagrees with the UK Supreme Court's ruling, saying they do not believe the policy is illegal.
Donc le Rwanda respecte cette décision, mais n'est pas d'accord avec le point qui stipule que non, les réfugiés ou les migrants qui seraient au Rwanda seraient dans une insécurité.
Despite court defeat, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he will introduce an emergency legislation to Parliament to designate Rwanda a safe country.
So I'm also announcing today that we will take the extraordinary step of introducing emergency legislation. This will enable Parliament to confirm that with our new treaty, Rwanda is safe. It will ensure that people cannot further delay flights by bringing systemic challenges in our domestic courts and stop our policy being repeatedly blocked.
Israel's foreign ministry has rejected a resolution recently passed by the United Nations Security Council, which calls for extended humanitarian pauses and corridors in the Gaza Strip.
This draft resolution we have in front of us today seeks to offer hope in this dark hour. It aims to ensure a respite from the current nightmare in Gaza and give hope to the families of all victims. It focuses in particular on the plight of children trapped in the war enclave and of those being held hostage.
In a statement cited by the Haaretz, a newspaper, the ministry says, and I quote, "There is no place for extended humanitarian pauses as long as hostages are being held by the Palestinian group Hamas." Israel's envoy to the UN, Gilad Erdan, also described the resolution as a detachment from reality as it does not condemn Hamas over its October 7 attack on Israel.
This Council has just adopted a resolution that is regretfully detached from the reality on the ground. Israel commends the Council for calling for the immediate and unconditional release of the 239 hostages. Yet sadly, this resolution falls on deaf ears when it comes to Hamas and other terrorist organizations. On the 7th of October, savage Hamas terrorists launched a barbaric invasion into Israel, murdering, raping, and brutalizing innocent civilians. Nearly 6 weeks have passed. This Council has convened on the matter almost 10 times and still has not succeeded in condemning Hamas's October 7th massacre.
The resolution also calls for the release of all hostages being held by Hamas and other groups, especially children, since then Israel has launched relentless air and ground attacks on the Gaza Strip since a cross-border attack by the Palestinian resistance group Hamas. The government media office in Gaza announced that the death toll from Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip since October 7 has risen to 11,500, including 4,710 children and 3,160 women.
The Security Council should have called for a ceasefire a long time ago. It should have called for a ceasefire now. It should have heeded the call by the UN and every humanitarian organization on earth calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, including the Secretary General of the United Nations. It should have been convinced that there is no military solution, especially one that relies on the commission of atrocities, and it should have advanced political ones.
A Moscow court imposed a fine of $164,000 or 15 million rubles on Google for its repeated refusal to store Russian users' data on servers in Russia. Moscow has repeatedly clashed with foreign tech companies over content and censorship since it launched its military operations in Ukraine. Google's Russian subsidiary is reportedly under pressure for failing to delete content that Moscow deems illegal. Moscow also criticized Google for restricting access to some Russian media on YouTube. Google's Russian unit filed for bankruptcy in 2022 after authorities seized its bank account, making it impossible to pay staff and vendors. Up to this moment, Google has not responded to email requests for comment.
A New York study shows that credit card delinquencies in the United States have returned to pre-pandemic levels. Their infographic shows that in 2021, the percentage of balances becoming 30 or more days late on a payment has risen for all types of consumer credit except student loans, which were covered by forbearance. Looking at the different age groups, the study shows that Generation Z or young consumers are most likely to miss a deadline for paying their credit card bills. Meanwhile, the baby boomers, or those born between 1946 to 1964, are the ones least likely to fall behind on their payments. In the case of millennials, or those born between 1980 to 1994, the chart shows that their delinquency transition rates have returned to pre-pandemic levels or even exceed them. Some researchers says it is hard to conclude what causes the rise in delinquency rates, but they cite shifts in lending, overextension, or deeper economic distress, along with higher borrowing costs and price pressures may be reasons for credit card delinquencies. Private equity group Aurelius has acquired the Body Shop for £207. Aurelius, which invests in fashion and sportswear brands, said it will re-energize the Body Shop business. The brand has a presence in 70 countries. The Body Shop was previously sold 3 times before Aurelius acquired it. The new owner added they plan to improve the operational system of the Body Shop to deliver a new chapter of its success.
Up next, the Iglesia Ni Cristo provides aid for the homeless in Orange County, California. The famous Thai excavation team is called in to make a miraculous rescue. And Americans fear for their fraps as Starbucks workers stage a large-scale walkout. Please don't go away. We've got more stories from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal. This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo has offered its help to the people who face economic hardships and struggles to meet their daily needs in Orange County, California. Tony Marie Geminiano reports.
the southern region of California is Orange County, home to various attractions, scenic coastlines. A popular destination for tourists and a sought-after location for establishing roots in Southern California. But despite being among the top-ranking economies in the world, a reputation for wealth and glamour, many Californians also face economic hardships and struggle to meet their basic needs, a reality often overlooked.
People get the magical view of Disneyland and the fireworks, and they think everything is like that. But there's a lot of people who are on the other side of that wall.
Having to try to look for an apartment, it's very challenging. My pay doesn't match what I would have to pay for rent.
Choosing going to college or working, I had to make a decision and I chose to work.
Even with government programs in place to address various economic challenges, many remain feeling the burden in trying to resolve underlying issues. So today, here at Santiago Canyon College in Orange County, California, Church of Christ volunteers in partnership with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation are reaching out in a special kind of way.
We prepared many care packages for our guests today. I would say between 1,500 to 2,000 bags. Those essentials that will really help families.
Está pasando aquí, me gustó, me encantó cómo ustedes ayudan a todas las personas. Es algo muy lindo mirar todo, cómo todas las ayudas, y son todos amigables y todos nos hacen sentir como feliz y como que estamos en nuestra casa.
The Church of Christ helps the poor and needy through activities like Care for Humanity. However, the most important help that we provide for the people who are in need are the words of God.
The magnitude and the volume of what you guys are doing is just it was a little overwhelming to see all that was going on and how many people you're able to help out. And not just here in Orange County, but it looked like, South Africa, there was stuff everywhere, all over the world.
I just want to say thank you for having me and my mom. It was a really good experience and it was totally unexpected. I didn't expect it to be like this.
Being here, being welcomed with a family, because I consider everyone here my family. People were just very welcoming today. I really appreciated the help, the bag, the encouragement even to continue to help. I really appreciate events like this.
Through acts of kindness, compassion, and a care for humanity, rooted deeply in biblical teachings, ongoing humanitarian efforts of the Church of Christ in partnership with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation continue to impact and inspire lives. From Orange County, California, Tony Marie Hemignano, Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan, special coverage.
Kenyans are digging deep for a new national tree planting holiday as its government hopes to plant 15 million trees by 2032. Government officials led the tree planting activities in different areas of the country. Seeds were available to the public via local forest agencies and chiefs' offices across Kenya. Kenyan President William Ruto underscored that conservation of the environment is the urgent and collective responsibility of humankind. Environmental groups, however, criticized Ruto for what they see as double-speak on conservation issues. This is due to Ruto's removal of a 6-year logging ban earlier this year, allowing old trees to be chopped down for economic activity. Environmental groups were against the lifting of the ban, citing it would increase illegal logging. India has asked a Thai company for advice as rescue crews race to save 14 men trapped in a road tunnel that collapsed on the weekend. Back in 2018, the company rescued children from a flooded cave. Estela Dominique has the details.
Aside from the Thai company, India has also asked for help from engineers at the Norwegian Geotechnical Institute. Excavators have been trying to remove debris from Sunday's collapse at the construction site in the Himalayan region of northern India. But as they haul away vast piles of rubble, more is falling from the tunnel's broken roof. Rescue efforts have been going on for more than 4 days. Food and medicine have been sent in through pipes. Oxygen is being pumped into the area where the men are trapped. The pace of drilling is slow, and a second drilling machine had to be flown in after the first run broke down. Rescuers hope to be able to drive a 90-centimeter pipe through the debris to give the workers an escape route. Dozens of colleagues of the trapped workers protested outside of the tunnel Wednesday, blaming authorities for slow rescue work. Acela Dominique from Matanang, Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In China, a fire engulfed a building in Shanxi province, killing at least 25. Rescuers were able to evacuate 63 people from the building. China's state media reported 51 victims were rushed to the Luliang First People's Hospital. Authorities say the cause of the fire was being investigated. Shanxi is China's top coal-producing hub, where factory owners have often scrutinized for their poor safety standards and enforcement. The Workers United says thousands of unionized Starbucks employees will walk off their jobs on Thursday. Workers United represents more than 360 unionized stores and more than 9,000 Starbucks employees. A union member says Starbucks is creating unnecessarily stressful working conditions by scheduling promotion after promotion without even increasing employees. Union members also claim Starbucks is refusing to negotiate in good faith over staffing issues and matters that are particularly acute during promotions. But the coffee company argues that Workers United has not agreed to meet to progress contract bargaining in more than 4 months. Starbucks has consistently denied any wrongdoing against the Workers United.
Eight black high school students in Las Vegas, aged between 13 and 17, have been arrested on suspicion of murder in connection with the fatal beating of a white 17-year-old classmate. The incident occurred on the 1st of November and was reportedly triggered by a dispute over a pair of wireless headphones and a vape pen. The victim, a 17-year-old, sustained severe head trauma and other injuries during the fight and remained hospitalized until his death about a week later. The local coroner's office ruled the beating as homicide. Las Vegas Police Homicide Lieutenant Jason Johansson explained that investigators are still working to identify 2 more students believed to have participated in the altercation. The local FBI office assisted in the arrests, but the names of the suspects were not disclosed due to their status as juveniles.
Coming right up, New Delhi announces a landmark plan to help curb the smog. Yannick Sinner finishes the Italian Job. And Netflix's The Crown is bound to have a bumpy ride. Catch the latest in sports and entertainment when Matanang Agila International returns.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang angking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
India's New Delhi is preparing cloud seeding, a new weapon in the fight against deadly air pollution. The experiment will take place as early as next week and hopes to wash away the fine particulate matter hovering over one of the world's largest cities. Delhi has already tried traffic restriction measures, multi-million-dollar air filtration towers, and the use of fleets of water-spraying trucks to dissolve the particulate matter in the air, but to no avail. The use of cloud seeding, however, would be controversial according to experts, as cloud seeding will just give temporary relief and not the solution to the deadly air pollution. The air is so bad that schools in Delhi and its surrounding areas have announced closures, and offices are allowing employees to work from home. The government has advised children, elderly people, and those with chronic diseases to stay indoors as much as possible. Delhi officials are seeking permission from federal agencies in India to try cloud seeding. The technique involves flying an aircraft to spray clouds with salts like silver or potassium iodide to induce precipitation. If weather conditions are favorable, scientists leading the project at the Indian Institute of Technology plan to carry out cloud seeding around November 20.
Conservationists are celebrating after the Indonesian government announced the birth of a critically endangered Sumatran elephant on the weekend. The birth gives renewed hope that the species will survive. Ralph Coronel tells us more.
The male calf weighs about 108 kilograms and was born in Uwai Kambas National Park in southern Sumatra. Environment and forestry officials say the calf is in good health and its mother is being monitored after giving birth on Saturday. According to the World Wildlife Fund, Sumatran elephants are on the brink of extinction, with less than 2,800 left in the world. The elephant population is threatened by rampant poaching for their tusks, which are prized in the illegal wildlife trade. Indonesia faces an ongoing battle against wildlife crime, and several elephant poisoning cases have been reported in recent years. Deforestation has reduced the critically endangered elephants' natural habitat and brought them into increasing conflict with humans. Ralph Cornell from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In tennis, world number 4, Yannick Sinner has edged towards becoming the first ever Italian to reach the last 4 of the ATP finals. This after he defeated the world number 1 Novak Djokovic in 3 sets, 7-5, 6-7, and 7-6. Sinner needed a straight sets victory in front of home support in Turin over Djokovic to guarantee passage from the green group with a match to spare. The 22-year-old is the first player to defeat Djokovic in 121 days since Carlos Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final. Sinner is now 2-0 in their round-robin group, having defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas in his first round-robin match. No one from the group has qualified for the semifinals yet, where it will all come down matches or 2 matches between Sinner and Holger Rune and Djokovic and first alternate Hubert Hurkacz.
The British Royals TV show The Crown is coming to an end. The 6th season of the wildly popular Netflix series about Queen Elizabeth II's reign will reportedly be its final chapter. From Europe, Brian Florentino has the details.
Netflix's acclaimed series The Crown, chronicling the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, draws to a close from Thursday, focusing on a subject still highly sensitive to the British monarchy, the death of Princess Diana. The 6th and final series of the award-winning show, created by Peter Morgan, is being released in 2 parts. The first 5 episodes will premiere on Thursday, followed by the final 5 on December 14th. The drama covers the UK's late Queen's journey from her 1947 marriage to Philip up to the early 2000s introduction of Kate Middleton, the current Princess of Wales. The season depicts the final weeks of Princess Diana's life following her divorce from the now King Charles III, leading up to her tragic demise on August 31st, 1997. She remains a figure of immense admiration beyond the UK, casting a shadow over the image of Charles and his wife, Queen Camilla, who has struggled to fully overcome her reputation as a marriage wrecker. The final season notably recreates Queen Elizabeth's rare live televised address from Buckingham Palace on September 5, 1997, paying tribute to Diana and addressing the widespread public grief. Imelda Staunton, who portrays the monarch in the last two seasons, following Claire Foy and Olivia Colman, expressed her heartfelt feelings whilst shooting the scenes. This isn't the first time The Crown has faced criticism, especially as it appeals to Netflix's younger audience who are learning about some events for the first time. Last year, Netflix added a disclaimer clarifying the show was a work of fiction. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I am Ryan Florentino for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
And to send you off today, here is a quote from Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe. People say that if you find water rising up to your ankle, that's the time to do something about it, not when it's around your neck.
I think that simply put, it just tells you to do things not when it's already too late.
Yes.
Prevention is better than cure.
Yes, as our mother says, right? An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Definitely.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Ricky Mathay.
I am Nina Rich Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.